So I was taking my banana out for a walk when I thought, have they learned anything from Demon Slayer? And the answer is, yeah, probably. If you didn't know, Demon Slayer and Naruto Storm are both made by the same developer, CyberConnect 2. And even though they're published by different companies, these two games existing in the same genre and being made by the same people are definitely going to influence each other. Heck, Demon Slayer plays the way it does right now because the team at CC2 has years of Storm experience. And now maybe the opposite is happening. And please keep in mind that at this point, most systems are probably already built for Storm Connections. It's too late to ask for stuff. So this is more of a list of things that I hope they have considered for Storm Connections. Let's go.
Hold to switch.
In my opinion, we should stop using the right stick to switch characters, and instead, we should start using the assist button. Or rather, holding the assist button to switch characters, because that's, well, how every tag game ever does it. Including Demon Slayer, you tap the assist button to call the assist, and you hold the assist button to switch to that character. There is a reason why every tag game in the history of tag games works like this. And I think it would benefit Storm in so many different ways. First of all, it would simplify the control scheme. Basically removing the right stick from the equation, so whenever you want to use switch tech, you don't have to hold your controller like a maniac anymore because your right hand is busy and you need to hit the stick. And because you remove the right stick, you're one step closer to letting players play the game with arcade sticks or their preferred type of controller. And this might not be a big deal for many of you, and the reason for that is no Storm players are out there using an arcade stick because they can't. Personally, I like it when folks that dedicate themselves to fighting games give arena fighters a chance. And if they can keep their preferred control type, if they are used to playing with arcade stick, then you remove a barrier of entry. This single change isn't enough though, because Storm still uses the D-pad and the left stick, but we'll definitely talk about those items on the D-pad later in the video. More importantly, I think a lot of the jank that comes from switch tech would be fixed if you just make this simple change. I think the reason switch tech is very glitchy and busted is because it is instant. If you have to buffer it by holding the assist button, you might immediately fix a lot of the issues. Being able to throw a jutsu or chakra dash without spending chakra, for instance, it might not be free anymore if you have to hold the button to switch. And this doesn't mean the tech goes away. You can still do it in a game like Demon Slayer. You can throw your ability or dash and switch while the other character is still active and doing stuff. So it doesn't get rid of the tech, it just makes it a bit more calculated since you have to hold the button, and makes it a lot more natural for your hands. And also, it should cost you meter. I don't care how long you've been abusing this glitch, it is a glitch, it is unintended. Jutsu and chakra dashes should spend meter. Next up,
Jump cancel means jump cancel.
So in Demon Slayer, you can neutral jump, or if you're moving around, you can also jump to the sides. Neat. In Storm 4, you can also neutral jump, or if you're moving around, you can also jump to the sides. So far, so good. In Demon Slayer, you can cancel a combo by neutral jumping, or if you're holding a direction, you can jump to the sides. So why is it that in Naruto Storm 4, you can cancel a combo with a neutral jump, no problem, but if you're holding the stick in any direction, the character does a ninja move? Why? You want to know the worst part? It's actually possible to jump cancel to the side, but to do that, you can't tilt the stick the whole way. You have to only slightly nudge it. And if you do that, look what happens. This is what the pros call a hollow step. But why? Why does this input even exist? If I hit the jump button, I want my character to jump. And that is regardless of how much I'm tilting the stick. Now, I'm not saying that we should remove the step cancel. These ninja move combos are cool as hell. Just make it a different input. In Demon Slayer, you tilt the stick and hit the dash button. In Storm, there's no dash button, but you could do it by double tapping the jump button, for instance. That could work. But if I press it once, I want to trust that my input is going to be a jump. And speaking of jumps, I'm not really sure about this next change, but
No more air blocking?
okay, so in Demon Slayer, you can't block while jumping, and something that I actually dislike in Storm is chicken blocking. A lot of defensive play is just jumping and blocking. That said, it's a much more chaotic game with a lot faster attacks from long range, so removing all of the air blocking would probably break the game. I mean, I do love catching someone dashing at me after subbing because I jump block, that feels so good. So I was thinking maybe you can still jump block in Naruto Storm Connections, but you can't block after you double jump, maybe? So at least your mobility is reduced. If you want to chicken block, you can only do this, but you cannot double jump and be safe. But I'm also not sure how this would impact other areas of the game, so it's something that needs to be playtested a lot. I like how much more grounded Demon Slayer is in comparison to Naruto Storm, and jumping in Storm still counters a lot of different approaches, even if you're not blocking. But yeah, it's a change I would definitely be scared to do and needs a lot of testing. But you know what doesn't need any testing?
No defensive assists.
Storm is one of the few tag games that I know where you can call an assist as you're blocking an opponent's attack or straight up getting hit. I think assists while getting hit are atrocious. It should never happen. Because some of these assists are actually godlike at breaking combos, and it makes those characters ridiculously good picks. But even when getting pressured, I don't think you should be able to call an assist. Sure, more often than not, the assists just get hit and they're not a problem. But when it works, it feels so unfair. And it's not like Storm is lacking in defensive abilities. You've got counters, you've got tilt attacks objects into switching. And you've got 4 substitutions in total. I would say you have plenty of defensive mechanics already. You don't need assists to join those. And I've got one more mechanic that I would like to see, or rather that I would like to not see.
No more items.
Get rid of them. All of those D-pad items, gone. I believe the items in Storm are a legacy system from the Ultimate Ninja days. Back when the game was inspired by Super Smash Bros. You could break objects on stage and those items would drop, so when it was time to make Naruto games into 3D, they kept that mechanic. And it's been losing meaning over the series. I think in Storm 4, with the leader switch system, it just makes no sense at all. Because of leader switch, they had to choose how to handle items, and what they did was give you a set of items based on your point character. So no matter who you switch to in-game, the items you see at the bottom will always be the point character's items. And I think this sucks as a restriction to pick a team. It's almost forcing you to pick certain characters as the point characters over others. Now, I do think that some items should prevail. They introduced guard breaks back in Storm Revolution, and I think it was a really good change. But you can make guard breaks part of your moveset. It was always weird having them in the item slot, and you can still limit them to 2 per game. I think that's fine. But just make it an input instead of using the D-pad, like you hold block plus hit the chakra button. I don't think that does anything right now. And regarding some of the buffs or explosive items, I think they could be used to balance characters, especially characters that rely a lot on projectiles. Like maybe you could hold the projectile button down for a stronger projectile, which could be the explosive tags or those little explosive balls. What are those called again? The ball busters. And they would change depending on the character that you're playing as, and that's another point that they could use to balance the roster out. I don't know. It's just a few ideas. I think back when the Ultimate Ninja games were made on the PlayStation 2, the items made a lot more sense than they do now in 3D. Not only that, but Naruto itself has become a show about monsters throwing giant balls of chakra rather than ninjas throwing knives at each other. So the items just make less and less sense. That's all on the mechanics side. Let's close out this video with
Story mode changes.
I think there's a lot that Demon Slayer story mode did that was a lot better than Storm. First of all, I love it when there are unique boss fights. And Demon Slayer story is pretty unique from start to finish. There are not many fights that you could recreate as a versus CPU match. And that doesn't really happen in Storm. Now, to be fair, Storm has a lot of boss fights for sure. I don't want to take credit away from them. Storm's story modes are still godlike. But let's be real, a lot of those fights during story mode feel like filler because it's just you versus a CPU. It's something you could recreate in a versus CPU battle. Sometimes the CPU has more health bars than usual, but that doesn't make the encounter unique because the moveset you're fighting against is still the same. Whereas in Demon Slayer, you look at a fight against Rui, for instance, and you notice that a lot of his moveset might be similar to what he does in game, but a lot of his moves are also unique to this boss fight as well. Not to mention the whole survive this surge phase mechanic, which a lot of bosses have, and it includes completely unique attacks, and I would love to see more of this in Storm. Something else I'd love to see is more free roaming sections integrated into the story. I feel like this is something that we lost slowly over time with each Storm game, with Storm 4 even completely separating the free roam mode from story mode. And they gave us a bunch of slideshows during story mode instead, so fans were not happy with the slideshows because the free roaming is better, but the free roaming also felt lackluster because it wasn't tied to this awesome story. And that's another thing that I think Demon Slayer did really well. They created a few hubs and none of them were nearly as complex as Konoha City. You don't need to go crazy with the budget here, but it made the story feel like something you can live through. It takes place in these locations that you can explore and do side quests in. And I would love Storm to pay this close attention to detail with their story, especially since they're doing the Naruto story from start to finish. Let us live in this Naruto world once again, instead of creating 2 different modes and having both of them feel like they could have been better. And those are some of the things that I think Storm should learn from Demon Slayer, and if you have any other ideas, I would love to read them in the comments. And if you think Storm isn't doing a great job at promoting their own game, you're not alone. Here's how the game is failing at everything they're doing and how they could fix it pretty easily. Thanks for watching. Bye.